Welcome, everyone. This is our last meeting before spring break. So next week we're off, but the week after we're back. So today we have Chiara, Kiki, and Jason, plus Sophie. So Sophie is making a film at Syracuse for her thesis, and Kiki and Jason graduated last year from Newhouse, and they are on her crew helping her with the virtual production aspects of the shoot. So they are here to explain all their travels through this virtual production experience and kind of like doing an independent film while trying to get it done like without the class to support it. So it's a large undertaking. So we are very happy that they're here to share it. So I will pass it over to Kiki.
Okay. Sounds good. Let me share my screen. I am going to turn my video off, everyone, while I talk, just so my audio comes out clearer in case. But let me share with you. All right, can everyone see okay? Sweet. Okay, so thanks guys. We're all like super excited to have you with us and to be talking about this. So we are going to first just introduce ourselves super quick. I'm Chiara, Ruggiero, or Kiki, and I'm going to be the VFX supervisor for this film, and I'm currently a compositor at Filmworks in New York.
I'm Jason Feith. I'm TD for the project, and I'm currently a technology consultant at PwC.
Hi, I'm Sophie Penn. I'm the writer, director, and producer of this film, and I am very fortunate to be working with Kiki and Jason on this.
We love Sophie. Sophie's an absolute beast. She's insane, and this is a really cool project, and I'm gonna let Sophie take it away now and kind of talk to us a little bit about it, just to surmise.
Yeah, so to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what this is about and why this is something that we decided to use VFX for, my thesis film for Syracuse through VPA Film is called Mirage, and it is a dark fantastical drama that's set against the backdrop of this corrupt family dynasty called the Royals. And so in the film we follow Zoe, who's this young woman who's born into this militant circus troupe, and we follow her throughout her journey as she grapples with how far she will go in the name of her family's legacy. So this is a dark fantastical drama. And so with that comes this unavoidable aspect of how we're going to show this world that is really expansive and kind of medieval-esque, and ultimately is just very different from where we are in Syracuse, New York. This is also a proof of concept for a feature film, and so this short film is really like an introduction to a much larger story. And a key component of bringing this whole story and world to life on the screen is the decision that we made pretty early on to incorporate VFX through building these virtual worlds in Unreal Engine and blending them with our practical set builds. And with that, I'll let Kiki get into it.
And I'll actually hand this over to Jason just to give you a few details so you know exactly what we're working with here.
Yeah, so here are a few of the production details. So there's actually a pretty substantial budget for this project. I know Sophie went through great lengths to receive funding from independent investors to build up such an impressive budget. So the breakdown is for the cast, the production expenses, and the post-production expenses. For the purposes of this project, the virtual production is a post expense, according to Chiara. The miscellaneous expenses are things like lawyers and the LLC, whatever it's called, filing. The location will be in Syracuse, so they'll be shooting on Newhouse Studio A, which is the green screen studio. And then the timeline is the principal photography will be shot in a little over a month from now, over that weekend. And post-production is set to be completed by May 10th.
And so now you have to ask, like, now that you see the budget, kind of everything that's going on, and this fantastical world Sophie described, and so how are we going to feasibly create such a unique world on such a low budget production? Because obviously we can't build sets that incorporate this as like equivalent to Lord of the Rings. So, you know, it's a little difficult. And virtual production and Unreal Engine is our amazing answer for this. And so pretty much we're going to be using Unreal Engine, which is a completely free software. And now I know what you're thinking. Virtual production is insanely expensive. It's like, you know, for productions such as The Mandalorian and actual high budget studio films, of course it is, because they're going to be using LED walls and, you know, a lot of professional crew, and it's just going to be of a much higher volume. But it's actually also very feasible for students like us. And there's a lot of ways we're going to get into about how you can make this happen, such as we're doing with Mirage on a budget equivalent to this. So I'm just going to let this play. For any of you who are unfamiliar with Unreal Engine, it used to be a 3D gaming software, and now it's kind of turned into a 3D animation software used for film. And so some of the really amazing features of this is real-time rendering, meaning that it's able to render out footage that is all automatically synchronized and tracked with in-camera footage. And then the real-time ray tracing is pretty much this incredible lighting feature. I'll just replay it because it's actually so cool to watch. But yeah, and then you have Nanite, which allows you to have, as you're zooming and focusing onto certain aspects of your world, it already has the high resolution images like built in, so you can already, you know, not have to manually create layers upon layers. And also really awesome stuff like Pixel Bridge, which is this giant platform where you can just, it's like Minecraft for kids. That's like what, or for adults is what I call it. Like you can pretty much find any asset you want without having to actually mesh it and create it in a program such as Blender and just drag and drop it into your world. It's amazing for people who are novice animators and are just, you know, looking to have fun with the components there. And it also blueprints. It doesn't go by C++ coding. It's rather almost similar to a node-based coding aspect. And then the Cinecama actor lets you actually film in the software itself, which is just so fun and cool. So you could pretty much just create your own movie while you're you know, in the program. And Lumen, which is the lighting. And the best part is that this is all free. Like it's actually just amazing, and it's definitely not going to stay this way, but we might as well take advantage of it while it does. Okay. Is there any questions about Unreal Engine? I'm assuming most of you guys are familiar with it just because it's so freaking cool. But any questions?
There's a question about real time in the chat.
Real-time rendering? Is it just like what it is? I'm sorry, I can't see the chat actually.
Jacob, do you want to ask?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm just curious, what is going on under the hood that Unreal can perform these like super fast renders, but like other 3D software takes so much longer.
I don't know exactly what's going on behind the hood too. Like, and do you have any idea, Jason?
I mean, I think the closest answer that I have to that is the new, so Unreal Engine 5 has this new thing called Lumen, which is the global illumination feature or whatever. So the way I understand it is in Unreal Engine 4, you used to have to bake the lighting into your scene. So it would look at your scene, it would look at if anything was like moving, or just, you know, the way objects were sitting in place. So if you had a room, you would bake a scene out and it would do the ray tracing, and then you would be able to in real time have your lighting. But if you moved something, the lighting wouldn't change. Now with Lumen, I don't really know the technical side of it, where like what makes it able to calculate these things so much faster, but I think a big part of that is just like processing power. So like Kiki will get into her computer in a little bit, but you know, keep in mind it's a gaming engine at the end of the day, so you know, it kind of has to be in real time in that sense.
Yeah. a lot of it has to do, like you said, with the hardware component, like the processing of the GPU is really critical. Like it really, NVIDIA RTXs are usually the only GPUs that really function very well with Unreal. I mean, I don't know, the AMDs aren't exactly the best, but yeah, so I know that definitely is a big component. Sorry. Let me let you go on, Jason, just kind of describe our pipeline here as opposed to traditional film pipelines.
Yeah, sure. I just want to point out Brad had a good answer in the chat. I have a feeling that the real-time rendering is not like as accurate as it would be if you rendered it out like with something like Arnold. But yeah, so virtual production is part of the reason why it's so revolutionary is because of how it brings post-production into the development lifecycle of a project throughout the development lifecycle of a project. So you're kind of thinking of post-production during pre-production, and it kind of has to be ready for production on the shoot day, especially if you're using something like an LED volume. So kind of what Kiki and I were talking about before this call is how it mends this like disconnect between pre-production and post-production. I mean, we'll get into this in the next slide, but like imagine you're a director and you're trying to describe the scene to your actors, and they all kind of just come up with their own version of it in their heads, and they just imagine what they're seeing on a green screen or something like that. With virtual production, you can actually show them the assets that were built, and you can show them the worlds that were created that they're actually going to be stepping into. And everyone kind of gets level set expectations on what CG elements are going to look like and things of that nature. So you can go to the next slide, Kiki. Thank you. So just some pros and cons between green screen for virtual production and LED volumes, like for The Mandalorian. So green screen, the pros, which we kind of will get into, is that it's more accessible and inexpensive compared to LED volumes. LED volumes are kind of a niche thing at this point. They are very expensive to build. They're very expensive to rent out. And familiarity, green screens, I mean, keying out a green screen is like a core visual effects skill that I mean, we learn in Shayna's visual effects class, and every visual effects artist should know how to do it. Cons are that they're the cons are kind of are grandfathered in from traditional green screen without virtual production even. So longer post-production, you still have to key your subject out of the green screen. You could have tracking issues. It's not immersive. So like I said, with the explaining a scene to your actors or a world to your actors. And then lighting difficulties, there is something called green screen spill, where every object reflects something. That's why we see it. So with the green screen immersing your subject, it's going to reflect and bounce a lot of green off onto your subject that you're filming. And you have to account for that in post-production or in lighting to try to separate them from the background so that you can more easily key them out. But also in post-production, like thinking about The Mandalorian, if they shot The Mandalorian on a completely green screen studio, not only would you have to key out the green screen behind a man in shiny reflective armor, but you would also have to figure out a way to replace his green screen reflections with reflections of the world. So on the flip side of that, the LED volume also has pros and cons that kind of contrast the green screen. So the pros is that it's captured in camera. So like I was saying, the reflections on the Mandalorian's suit of armor, it'll reflect the environment around him that the LED wall is projecting or showing. There's so realistic lighting and reflections, a shorter post workflow, but I think the one caveat to that is if something is messed up in camera, or if the world needed to be reworked for some reason, then you would end up having to go through a longer process of rotoscoping out the entire person, subject potentially, and then replacing the screen. Cons, like I said, is that it's really expensive. You could get artifacts, so something like a dead pixel on your LED volume. Dropped frames could be, an issue with maybe the computer just can't process fast enough and it just drops a frame, or it lags a little bit, and then all of a sudden the motion between your camera and your LED volume is not in sync, and it messes up the entire immersion of the scene, and everything filmed in camera is kind of pointless at that point. And then color accuracy, Kiki was telling me how LED screens, especially when you're recording them in camera, like the black levels could be a little bit lifted from what they would normally be in, or what they should be in real life. So those are just some things, but that could be somewhat amended in post-production as well.
Yeah, so as you can see, there was a lot to consider. We originally were considering using an LED, but since green screen was just much more accessible, we obviously went that route. But in this slide, I'm going to kind of be talking about just trial and error of pre-production, because mind you, none of us have obviously ever created an indie film that is using virtual production. I mean, I've had a little bit of experience working at it at my internship in LA, and that's what really got me into it. But that was mostly like the whole virtual production setup and stage was already completed. I was just a lowly artist, but so now, we decided to kind of take it by our hands. And when we were originally having our core creative meetings, we really just wanted to try and book a professional production studio in New York City. And this is when we had a budget through like some investors and our speculations. And even though it was not locked, we were like, you know what, let's go for it and try it out. Definitely learn from that. We will get into it, but we found, and by the way, just saying this, I'm just kind of taking you through our whole process here, just so you can see how it was going throughout the past like 5 months. But yeah, no, so after Sophie went through looking through a lot of different virtual production studios in New York, we finally found one in Brooklyn. It was known as Jet Sets. And we decided to talk closely with them and choose them in a sense, because they had a reasonable rate, which is absolutely outlandish. It was $21,000 for 2 days, but that is reasonable for this. So I mean, anyway, and then they also would be providing us with a crew, as well as like on-set equipment. Pretty much all I would have to do would be bring in my hard drive that had my Unreal Worlds, and they would just put that, hook it up to their PC, and bada bing, bada boom, it was done. The owner was a veteran. He's been doing this since literally the 90s, like right when people were starting to, the very beginners were starting to kind of think this would be cool. And he definitely, it was an experience working with him. I will just speak openly here, and I feel like when you are just getting out and going out into this world, especially unfortunately as a woman, you are talked down to just a little bit. And I couldn't help but feel like he wasn't taking us very seriously, but that's okay. I mean, we are novices and we were hoping to learn from him. But anyway, that didn't work out. So we ended up, unfortunately, having an investor pull out, bringing our budget down from what was about to be around 60,000 to what it is now, around 20,000. And so, yeah, that, it was kind of like a moment when he pulled out. All of us had already done so much pre-production in terms of shot lists, shot trackers, me beginning to build the PC to handle this. We all kind of were just at a standstill and like, how are we going to, compensate for this? What are we going to do? And we came up with the brilliant solution to make our own virtual production studio in Newhouse. And Jason, after this slide, is going to break down the cost for you guys. And it's actually crazy, the difference. And pretty much what we decided to do was to rent out just the Newhouse Studio A. And we purchased a HTC Vive Pro virtual reality like headset, as well as pucks and base station. and controllers. And so that's pretty much going to be used as our camera tracker. And then we're going to be using axisymmetry. I'm probably not saying that right, but that's going to be our live compositing software, and then Unreal Engine to actually create our worlds. And yeah, the experience and knowledge of our crew members, Sophie, me, our DP Maria, as well as Jason, we're just going to be merging that and making our own virtual production studio in Syracuse. And now, again, there's still a lot of trial and error. You know, we still have a lot to learn, and it's consistent YouTube videos for us, consistent articles. But when you're really passionate about something, you can always make it work. And you just have to, I guess, have an open mind and teach yourself. And also, since we are novices, all of you wonderful people I'm speaking to right now, we would absolutely love any, help that you or advice that you have to give us, because we are learning as we're going. So please share if you see anything that you have a recommendation. We'd love it. But this was a great idea because obviously, look, I'll hand this over to Jason and let him just break down.
Yeah, so as Kiki was kind of talking about how much more expensive a reasonable like professional green screen studio was going to cost for this project. So you do get the studio and you do get the crew, which is nice because people, you have people on set that definitely have know what they're doing and have been doing this for a long time and have experience, so they can help you out with any issues. But the only expense for the indie route is the PC and the equipment. And a $3,000 PC might sound really expensive, but I actually know someone who just bought a $3,000 gaming PC, which also seems expensive. But at the end of the day, for a shoot like this is pretty reasonable, especially considering how, we're talking about how we're all learning and we're all just kind of doing trial and error for this project. A lot of the time, Kiki has 5 test days to go actually to the green screen studio and test out and make sure everything is working. So that's 5 days of testing that would have had to have been paid for the professional green screen studio, which doesn't have to be paid for anymore.
Yeah, no, so definitely more reasonable. But now I'm going to kind of get into the big power behind all of this, and that's going to be our PC. Now, Jason said $3,000 sounds like a lot for a PC. It's actually really not for a PC of this caliber. It can get extremely expensive. Here are just some cool little pictures, and I'm going to show you guys in a second a silly little TikTok video I made of the progression. I'm not a TikToker. This is not of high quality, but it's at least something to show how it was all going down. But I'll kind of just talk over myself as I just show you guys this. But yeah, no, so it definitely was a lot of learning. I mean, I'll break down all the different parts, but for example, our GPU, we decided in the beginning to use an AMD, and obviously after a lot of videos I looked into, that just doesn't exactly the power and the capacity we were looking for. So I had to instead switch to a NVIDIA. Usually a 2080 was the only thing that we could afford. And though that is an older GPU, it still was, it still is going to do the trick and do the job to what we needed. And for reference, like a 490 GPU of NVIDIA RTX was ranging to about like $5,000, and that was through scrappers. That wasn't even like through NVIDIA's website, just because it's really high in demand and really difficult. But yeah, so you can see this. I had an amazing time making it. It was a lot of fun, and it runs like a charm as of now. But yeah, so these are all of the parts that we decided to use. And most of these, again, it wasn't exactly for the aesthetic. As you could see, the inside of that PC was not like those cool gaming PCs. It was of a much different, what's the word I'm looking for? Goal that we had in mind. It's more so just for the power rather than how it appears. I mean, the case is completely closed because number one, we're going to need to transport it. between sets. And so we need something really durable for that. Obviously for CPU, we chose Ryzen 5950 just because it is the best out there and is definitely an expense, in my opinion, that you don't want to cheap out on when you're getting a PC. Motherboard, I wanted to get a Wi-Fi plus motherboard just so that we could have internet access, easy internet access wherever we go. And most motherboards nowadays are Wi-Fi plus, but just to be sure. And I like Asus, so yeah. And then the NVIDIA, obviously, we found this. It was such a nice deal. It was only $750, which is insane. The second we saw it on Amazon listed from a private seller, we were like, oh yeah. And CPU cooling fan, Cooler Master, pretty basic there. PSU, obviously, since a bad PSU can literally explode your entire set or house, we didn't want to cheap out on that. So we went with the HX 850. And yeah, and then for RAM, we can always add more RAM 6. As of now, we have two Corsair Vengeance LPXs. And so, yeah, and if anything needed. And then last slide about the actual physical parts themselves. Like I said, the case was more for durability than aesthetic. And primary storage, we decided to use an NVMe. Definitely not saying that right. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is awful, guys, by the way. And then backup storage, we wanted to use a Seagate on Barracuda. And since Unreal Engine takes so much storage, again, not something to cheap out on here. And we can always continuously keep on adding more backup storage. And so that's not a problem there. And yeah, monitor, basic, got it at Walmart, easy. And yeah, and then the case cooling fans, I like the Noctuous and FG14s. But yeah, I'm gonna let you take it away, Jason, with the Vive camera. And so this is pretty much not the PC component, but rather what's connected.
Yeah, so in order to make virtual production reality, I guess in this case, especially in the way that we're doing it, we use a Vive tracker puck and a Vive base station. So I guess you could kind of think about it like the puck is your Wiimote and the base station is like the sensor on the TV that's like tracking your movements, if that makes sense. But the puck is attached to the camera. There's, I believe, like a dongle that connects the puck to your computer. And then the base station captures the movement of the puck, which then gets translated to the Unreal virtual world through a virtual camera that matches the movement of the real physical camera. Your camera rig is just, your camera, whether it's Blackmagic, Alexa, Red, whatever. Capture card to capture whatever is on the camera. Your monitor, so your monitor can be, so there's your monitor for what you're seeing on your computer in Unreal. There's your monitor for what the DP is seeing in camera, and then a monitor for what Ximetry is giving you, which is a live composite of the green screen plate with your virtual world while you're recording. So that way the director can see what is being recorded, an actor can see what the world looks like, and a DP can see what kind of angles or what kind of compositions can be achieved with the virtual world that's in Unreal. Yeah, I think I covered anything. If Kiki, if there's anything I missed, feel free to hop in. All right.
No, sorry, Jason.
No, you're good.
But yeah, no, that pretty much covers it. And you want to take over pipeline, Jason? Just kind of describe how it's going.
Yeah, sure. So pre-production is a huge process, especially for virtual production, because everyone needs to be on the same page before you start filming. The first part of the timeline is creating mood boards and really like fleshing out what you want the sets to look like before you actually start building them. The second part of the the second and third part of the timeline is kind of like fleshing out those worlds in a virtual setting, and testing them as they go, seeing how they look on camera, things like that. And then production is your next step. And then finally post-production, so I guess I didn't make it clear, the live composite is not what's going to be your final output for the project. That's not what's going into your timeline. You're getting two different plates from your recording. You're getting your live green screen plate, and you're getting motion accurate track version of your virtual world as a separate plate, so that when you pull your green screen key, you already have your virtual world lining up perfectly with the camera movement when you composite it into your live footage.
Awesome, Jason.
Yep.
Awesome. Any questions so far, guys? I've been trying to keep up with the chat, but yeah, just before we get into this.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
So is there any like tolerance for kind of the camera not being directly like when I did a film with a green screen, and if the virtual camera wasn't exactly like what was supposed to be for where I actually shot it on the green screen, or it was like a little off, like there's some wiggle room, and there's some wiggle room with things like parallax and stuff like that. I'm wondering if like how accurate like the camera is tracked to how it's supposed to be, or if you're having to make some corrections after the fact, or if you have some wiggle room, or is this not really relevant to this process?
Yeah, no, I totally feel you there, Jacob. When I was in LA working on this stuff, a lot of the times, like when we would merge the two renders together, we'd be like, oh, seriously, like, because it would just, the track would be a little bit off. But yeah, there obviously there's always a way to fix it in post, unfortunately, sometimes, but we can absolutely, there's some wiggle room in terms of like just trying to match, or even just trying to, worst comes to worst, manually track it, as you would. In this case, we're going to be putting on tracker markers everywhere, just to be sure, in case anything goes amiss, that we have something to fall back on. But a lot of the times though, what we did to try to combat this problem, we just kept on shooting and just having to render it out, check it out, go back, fix it. And just because it, if you have the time, it works that way. But yeah, I hope does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, that does. And it's really awesome you guys are doing this pretty avant-garde process. Congrats.
Thanks, dude. It's fun. It's a good learning curve. We're having a good time with it, and hopefully it comes out great. But now this is a great segue. I'm gonna get into the fun part here, and we're gonna talk about our actual worlds, and then I'm gonna show you one of the worlds that we currently have in progress. So pretty much what we're going to be doing, we're making 3 worlds in Unreal. And now, Sophie, any chance you would kind of like to describe some of these worlds to us? Because you did an amazing job at it with me, and this is like your beautiful imagination coming to life. So I'm gonna let you just take it away.
Cool, yeah. So basically, in this story, there's the Royals, who are the main troop that Zoe, our main character, is born into. And they are kind of, how I envision their camp is like, it's basically in the middle of this like really looming, jagged, like mountainous area. And they're not really like a traveling circus, like they're kind of sedentary because they've established themselves. They're like the Cirque du Soleil of circus troops in this world. And so I wanted the land around them to kind of be this like oddly like dead area where things don't really grow, and obviously they have this really like corrupt side to them and how they operate, and like the whole element of them being a family, and the rituals and some of the weird habits that they have. I wanted to play into the actual like geographical environment of where they are. And so I wanted it to feel like this very like ominous space, and I really wanted those mountains in the distance, and then the mountains also like feed into the storyline when the main character ends up actually leaving the camp. And so I had kind of like a very specific vision for that. And then the other element of the story is that there's this other circus troupe that Zoe hears about growing up, and it's called Mirage. And it's this troupe that basically like nobody has heard about for decades. She hears about it through this old man Igor, who's like a servant in the Royals, and he's kind of like this grandfather figure to her. And so in one of the scenes, Igor is telling her this story about Mirage and what it was like when he was growing up in it. And so we kind of actually go into that world and we see it. And so that's what Old Mirage is titled for this, is Igor's storytelling of Mirage as it was, as he remembers it. And we're kind of seeing, it's like this multi-layered thing where we're seeing the world through his story, but then also through Zoe's interpretation of his story. So it's this like really utopic, just youthful, vibrant space. And it's in like this meadow and prairie. I saw people in the comments saying Lord of the Rings. That was definitely an inspiration when it came to like the geographical landscape. And so that's what that is. And then there's Mirage, like the main one. And so Zoe ends up leaving the Royals to try to seek out Mirage because she's put in a position where basically something happens that forces her to make a decision between staying and subjecting herself to something that's going to be really terrible, or leaving and kind of going out just based on faith that she's going to be able to find this place that is like a legend at this point. And so I wanted that space to feel really like empty and kind of like surrealist. And so it's like this vast expanse of desert, and it's just like these rolling hills of sand that go on for miles. And it's like really, really empty. And I wanted her to feel like very isolated in that space. And so that's kind of where the world of Mirage comes from. And that's where the short film story ends. But the three worlds really work together very well because the Royals, the mountains that we see in the distance, Zoe actually goes into when she's making her way out of that world. And then those mountains bleed into this desert. So like geographically, I wanted it to kind of make sense where it's not like so overtly explained in the story, but there is like a geographical conception of the landscape that she's in and like where things are. And then the Old Mirage is this really just direct contrast to the Royals. And so when she's hearing about it from Igor, it's everything that the Royals doesn't have. So that's kind of where the conceptual ideas for these three worlds came from.
Yeah, and it was really cool because a lot of these images were generated using like AI platforms such as WinAI, DALL-E, and also just a lot of grabs from other films that were inspired. But yeah, also just a lot of pre-production went into this, you know, kind of just making sure that everybody was on the same page on how we wanted it to look out, and a lot of work has went into it and has been still going into it between our practical set designer and me, just to make sure that, you know, a lot of things line up, such as our tent material, just practical locations. And on these slides, you can see we made kind of like a Google slide shared with everybody just about some of the Quixel Bridge assets we're going to be using. And these are directly from Quixel Bridge, and for you guys who do use Unreal. So you can kind of see where we're going here. And it's really awesome because they have different environments broken down, showing different assets belonging to those environments, such as like Iceland, meadow, rocky grassland. And yeah, so, and then in terms of the actual tens, we're just going to pretty much be buying these pre-made meshes and then designing them and putting on different textures and everything. But yeah, so that's just kind of cool thing. I am going to take a very quick break so I can stop sharing the screen and boot up Unreal just to show you guys. Let me just stop this. Just so I can kind of show you guys one of our in progress worlds, which is going to be our Royals world. It's really cool. So I want to take this opportunity just to answer any questions while this loads and everything, if that's possible. If anyone has any, like no pressure, but.
Can you explain, if someone is interested in joining the team, what they would be signing on to do?
Oh yeah, I'm so happy you said that. Yay, I hope people are interested. I do just want to say it is open to obviously students and alumni. Both are working on this film, but there's a bunch you could do. I mean, if you actually want like virtual production experience, like on set and everything, I would love you to like just come and chill with me on set and kind of, I don't know, help me operate Unreal Engine, see the process, see how it's all going, help me plug in some wires when needed, maybe check out the live composite while, you know, I'm like rendering out worlds and everything, stuff like that. So, and then also we're looking for a lot of people to help with more traditional VFX, such as like compositing. We have this giant fire scene where fire's in the sky, there's like sparks going everywhere, so it would mostly be like element compositing. So if you're not looking to be on set or, you know, be there with all of us, totally fine, I feel you. Just let me know, and like we could like hook up a Google Drive and everything and get you going on our shot tracker and assign you some stuff. So I'll have a slide on how to contact us, but we would love any help with this film, especially with a virtual production. I personally would love any of you wonderful people here. Let me see if this is, okay, it's almost up. So hold on one second, but yeah.
Yeah, if anybody wants to get involved, it would be like so incredible. Obviously, I'm learning a lot about VFX for the first time in going through this, and I've like gotten so like it's such a cool world to be in, and even like hearing your guys' questions and stuff, like you all clearly like know so much about this. And yeah, it would be just like really, really amazing. If anybody wanted to come and help and be on set. I know Kiki would appreciate it, but yeah, we definitely would love to have anybody who's interested.
All right, guys, I'm gonna show you perfect timing. Let me share my screen. I'm gonna stop my video. Okay, so this is one of our very in progress going on here. It might be laggy, so I do apologize. But yeah, you can see, look how awesome it is. And now pretty much, let me just zoom out for you. Wrong button. So here we have, we're using an HDRI in terms of lighting for in camera, and then obviously we're going to be matching our lumen with actual other camera. And again, this, as you can see here with the iterations of our textile, is obviously going to be changed just because, again, this is a very, very base world, still in progress. I'm gonna try to get it so you guys can see. We have some cool little grass features here. You can see some grass moving, and yeah, it's honestly just a learning process. You can come up and I'll show you. You guys have anything you want to specifically see? I can't see this chat right now, so yeah, let me just kind of show you like what we're working with here. So like here you have our actual asset that we would get from Quixel Bridge, and we would download this. And now let me just place it in the world just for the heck of it. And you can move it up and down. You can make it bigger. Yeah, there's just a bunch of cool little things. And then if you want to come over here and actually, like, this is how I designed the whole mountain range. There's landscape, and we use an amazing program called Brushify, which I definitely, you can kind of make your little mountains, called Brushify, which allows you to add textures into the scene. So like, for example, I have desert. Now this is what my work has cut out for me a lot. So you would just kind of, oh hush. You would just kind of add it in as it goes. Oh, it's because of my lighting. See, so it's really cool. You get to like blend everything. And we are right now in the process of finding all of our tents. And yeah, it's just really cool. And again, this is like a very base world. By the time it's done, it's going to have everything pretty much put into it to make it look like a complete like layout. And it's really fun. I don't know if you guys, that's cool for you guys, but yeah, I'm excited for you to see when it's like finished. I wish it was finished now, but no, we do like one step at a time here. But let me get back into our last little bits of the presentation, which includes our contact info. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, cool. Let me get this up. Okay. So yeah, and now post-production, pretty much after this, again, all of our pre-production is finishing that world, making it look realistic, adding in our lighting, testing nonstop to make sure that everything works. And then after that, after we are on set and we render out that final image, It's just simple compositing. We're going to be using After Effects, and it's just like putting in a little green screen backdrop edition, again, with, of course, probably some tracking issues, but we'll make that work. That's no problem. And yeah, and then some other VFX stuff we have included is element compositing, which includes that big fire. We're going to need just some flames, some sparks, and for that we're going to be using, oops, my bad, a mixture of Nuke and After Effects, again, depending on people's skill set and what's accessible. And then it's off to review, color, and edit, and we are done. And it's about like 2 weeks we have for, or 2 to 3 weeks for post and everything. And more realistically, hopefully 2 weeks. But it really, most of our work is being done right now in terms of making and finalizing those worlds. But yeah, guys, so thank you. If you're interested in joining, again, our crew is both alumni and students, and we would love anybody who would be willing to join and help out on this project and just gain experience. I mean, it's a great resume builder. I can't lie. I know I'm really excited. Personally, let me just close out Unreal really quick. I'm sorry. I just don't want to run it right now. All right, there we go. So yeah, really building experience, and if you want to be at home and have some names on the creds, like, you're good. But just contact Sophie, follow Mirage on Instagram, check out the website that's in the previous slide, it's mirageshortfilm.com. And yeah, that's it, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Presenting this to you.
Hi, I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, so my name is Molly. I'm currently a graduate student at TRF. I'm more in the field of cinematography and directing, so I'm just curious, like, I'm not really having a lot of VFX experience. Do you still need people like that for the production?
Yeah, I
Crystal.
mean, we definitely like could use help in all of our departments. So if there's something that you're specifically interested in, feel free to just email me and let me know like what you're looking to do, and I can let you know if we still have spots that we need to fill for those crew positions. But
Got
also,
it.
Kiki, I don't know if you have anything on the VFX side if you are interested in learning more about VFX.
I would love, I mean, yeah, dude, if you want to learn like some VFX stuff and like you have After Effects, I would love to just send you some little shots that have like simple things, and I could hop on Zooms with you and, just show you how to do it. I mean, I would love as much help as I can get, and I'm always like to spread VFX. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hello, I have another question. Just curious if you're going to be using any virtual characters, or if you're going to be like or just like crowd stuff, if not main characters.
No. I'm like, are you talking about like mega humans? Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I mean, I just mean like any virtual characters to like fill in, like if you need, extras like in the background walking around or something.
We actually were just in our last meeting talking about that, perhaps potentially having it for one scene. So I mean, yeah, we would probably just be using traditional VFX for that. But I mean, if you want to do that, that would be awesome too. But like, they're not
I'll
exactly,
hit you up.
but huh?
I'll message you. I'm interested.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like I would love to be able to do that, especially because some of our shots are actually going to be like completely in Unreal, like the Unreal camera. And so for that stuff, it's like one of those wish list things that I had where like if we could find a way to get some people in where they're like far enough away that we can't tell that they're not real people, that would be super sick. So if you have experience with that and want to help, that'd be dope.
Yeah, for sure.
We would love that. That'd be awesome. But any more questions, comments, concerns, help? If anyone saw anything that they thought was like, what the heck, let us know. Like, that would be really nice. But I mean, I'm pretty confident in what we have. But again,
Wait, so
I
I'm
also have
wondering,
another question, and but someone see it once everyone else has asked their questions. I keep hogging, but I have
okay,
another question.
I have a question. Like, does like so act symmetry like takes the live key, you said?
Yeah, so axisymmetry is it pretty much it on the monitor, like by the camera, it's going to be showing that live composite. So it is like a live key. Is it very good? Like, is it usable? No, no. But it's at least something that gives you, it's very similar, and it allows you to visualize what it's going to look like in terms of scale, setting, and just overall color and design.
Okay. Does it like help you at all? Like this whole process get like easier and like less labor intensive keys like for post? Like for when you do the green screen comps? Like
Yeah, you know, I personally, like when I was doing it back at Filmworks, I thought it honestly was a little easier just because we were also able to adjust like in terms of the color that it was picking up on and everything in terms of the light key to make it as realistic as possible. So in a weird way, it gave us that like color range idea in our minds. So like when we were actually keying and everything, I don't know, it set us up better for success. I think the right word is.
right, like because you need a good green screen. Like so like the green screen is like gonna be really well lit and everything. Like
Yeah, exactly. And then yeah, it helps so much with lighting too, because you really get to see how everybody blends just in terms of the environment. And also like you can move where you want the environment to be located in like, so it helps like, you know, you're like, oh, I hate that rock there. Like you just move it or you just delete it. So that's cool. It's also really cool because another component is you can actually have people interact with like the rocks and stuff. So you can put certain like objects or 3D assets at the forefront and have it like, so I'm hiding behind a rock, and it's so cool. Like it's really realistic. And then we also put a green screen block. I sat on the green screen block in LA and we made it into a rock. So it's cool and it looks really good. Just feet can sometimes get a little tricky. Did you have another question, Jacob? I think, yeah.
Yes. It's a little tangential, but I'm interested in like actual like I think some people are doing it. I don't know, virtual movies where literally like you are immersed in the movie, and I mean it's kind of like a VR experience, but you're not necessarily interacting with the world. You are like the movie is available from 360 degrees and you are inside of it. Is that anything you looked into? Because I know little about it, but it seems like with all the VR stuff coming out, that might be an inevitable next step to filmmaking.
I totally agree that it is a next step. We have not looked into it. I mean, I know that our HTC Vive Pro set that we got includes like a headset and everything. So, you know, if we feel like it, we'll try it out and see if it works. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not exactly necessary for like this project because of that live composite.
Gotcha.
It is cool. I will say that. It's really cool. Any other questions, guys, or comments?
Yeah, are you I noticed that you're using Quixel assets pretty heavily. Are you also working with like custom assets, anything beyond Quixel and Unreal? And so what have you run into with like kind of mitigating the two?
So in terms of custom assets, most of the ones we found have been just on Unreal Marketplace, such as like our Brushify texture element packet, which is just so nice. Like if anyone does this, get that. It's going to save so much time on any texture packet. But yeah, so pretty much I know like one of the things we're really looking into is on like customizable meshes for the tents so that we can actually add the color, because a lot of them already come with you know, just plop it in, and it's a little hard to actually customize it to make it look exactly like your own vision. So I think we definitely have been not running into a problem with it, but it takes a lot more seeding through them to try to find just absolute bare ones and that have more paint options so we can make it like look how we want.
Well, thanks. Another question that was earlier in the chat, but I don't think anybody directly answered it. Are you using anything for live capture of like lens focus metadata?
No, I wish I wanted to really bad at everything, but no, unfortunately we're not.
Cool.
Can I ask what camera you guys are and lenses you're using on this?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So we're gonna be shooting this on a red Komodo, and we are using CP3 lenses.
And you're gonna have a video card?
For the camera?
You need a way to get the camera feed into asymmetry, right?
Yeah. I'll let Kiki handle that.
And theoretically have some kind of gen lock.
Yeah, we're looking into it right now, but yes, camera card.
Well, I've got a computer on campus that has a Blackmagic Studio 4K card and a RTX 3090.
Okay,
We might hit you up.
I'm hitting
Yeah,
you up.
you probably should. I'm looking at your specs. I'm like, that's cool, but I see some things you could really use that are not on there.
So I'm definitely gonna be getting in contact with you then, Millen. No, that's awesome.
I'd also, again, Jason and I, we've run a bunch of tests using the Vive with that asymmetry combo, and it's not great. You know, like it's very basic. So depending on your coverage, there are some limitations that you should anticipate. It might be better to beg like someone like Moses to loan us a star tracker for those days. You'd be in much better shape than, you know, like I think, you know, like the Vive is good when you're just looking at static shots, but as soon as you have to move the camera, it just does not play well with asymmetry. So just in terms of like your workflow, it might, that's a call that's worth making.
I will make that call. I really enjoy Moses Star Tracker. I do. When we were looking into it, I will beg. I would love to have that. But what I will say is sorry, I lost my train of thought. With the Vive, we had to obviously, since because of like, especially with zoom and focus, we had to customize quite a lot of our shots after we found out the studio fell through. So a lot of them are static shots and without feet being shown, close-ups. So we're playing with what we have, as much as I would love for it to be like this awesome movement and everything. We also do have most of our shots using Unreal are going to be in-camera shots with the Cine camera actor. So yeah, that's pretty much like how we're going to.
I figured as much. I'm like, that's gonna be, and that's fine, right? That's not like, that has nothing to do with the storytelling. It's just something to be aware of. What I was gonna say is, you guys were talking about shooting in Studio A.
So that's something I'm actually talking to the new house.
New house, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm talking to the new house administration right now. So that's not something, also just to
talking
clarify.
to Neil Coffee.
Yeah, so
You're
that's
talking to
not
Neil
something
Coffee.
that, yeah, that's not something that is currently locked. Also, I just want to clarify that. That's something that we are in communication with them about.
Yeah, I could probably help you there.
That would be amazing. I would very much appreciate that. I've had lots of conversations.
We have so like, again, the Moses call is one worth making because Studio A already has trackers down on the floor.
Yeah.
So in terms of targets, it would be more like getting the tracker in and doing a remap. So again, I'm just throwing that out there, right? Like, it's worth making a call to see if Moses would send a loaner out for whatever, there's like 3 days, 4 day shoot.
Yeah, it's only 1 day on the green screen actually. So
I think they probably would do it. So you guys should connect with me, and I'll try to put you directly to my contact and see if we could we could help. I'd like to see you guys be successful with this. So it would be worth seeing you guys go through the paces and see what comes out on the other side.
I'll definitely be contacting Moses. Definitely Milton. Milton's the man right now. Like you saying this, honestly, that would be awesome. But yeah, no, I think that definitely is a call worth making. I'll have to think about
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much, Milton. This is
Yeah.
very helpful. And yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
definitely going to be reaching out to you to talk about this more.
How's your green screen test going? Are you having success getting good keys?
We're actually testing in like a couple days, so we'll get back to you on that next week or
Cool.
weekend.
I have some experience with that, but more so, I know a guy who helped me with my green screen stuff, who's like beyond amazing at it and new. He's like a prodigy, so I could point you into the direction for that if you're interested.
No, that would be awesome too. Thank you, Jacob.
Absolutely.
You guys are amazing, like, for saying all this. This is why I was so excited to come here. I'm like, please, I need people to like help navigate us a little bit because, like I said, trial and error, it's so appreciated. You have no idea firsthand. So thank you, you guys.
Yeah, this is awesome. And I'm learning like so much. And yeah, thank you guys so much because this is something where like Kiki said, it's kind of like each of us are experts in our specific fields. And so it's that kind of liaisoning where we're really learning and growing and like figuring out how what Kiki knows about virtual production is going to meld with what I know about producing and directing with our DP, who's very well versed in cinematography and lighting, but we're kind of all trying to bridge those gaps. So this is definitely helping to do that.
Do you have access to the I think I shared it in Slack, or did I just send it to you, Brad, that keying best practices document? Because you
Steve
guys, I
Wright,
gotta
yeah.
get that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, the Steve Wright document. Yeah. I love that you harassed that guy and he really like he engaged you and gave you a lot. That was awesome.
Yeah. That's another pro tip is if you find somebody who knows a lot, just kind of. I try not to harass, but
Yeah,
prod.
that's a strong
prod
word.
is-
That's a strong word. Yeah, prod. Yeah.
Prod is I was able to get in contact with the guy who made the Nuke masterclass on keying. He told me not to actually tell anybody that, so don't everybody keep that.
Should I stop recording?
Sure, I guess it's time.
No, he just told me to not tell anybody that he did it for free. Oh, I mean he didn't do it for free.
You'll find out. You'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that document is excellent. The keying best practices document is quite good.
Yeah, I'll if that's not in the Slack or something, and I don't remember, somebody asked me because I'll send that to you. It's amazing document about best practices for not only for keying but for shooting on the green. It's actually I think only for like the actual production shooting on the green screen.
I'm emailing you a reminder right now.
Awesome.
Cool. So if there's nothing else, I want to just thank everyone again, Sophie and Jason and Kiki, for sharing everything that you guys are learning about your project. So I know you're in the kind of beginning testing stages, but you still have a few weeks to go until day one. So I think definitely ask Professor Santiago for some help.
Yes.
He came tonight.
We will definitely be having more conversations. And thank you so much.
Yeah, Professor Santiago definitely be reaching out to you. Thank you. And thank you, Brad and Jacob and everyone who's given us advice and just everyone for listening. And please, we would love to have you on this project and learn with us. So just reach out. But yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun set. And
I'm so excited. So that's going to be fun and scary at the same time. Mostly fun though. Make it a good time.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for like listening and for having me come in. This has been very, very cool.
Well, you guys are welcome back anytime. And when you have your full project, you definitely have to come back. So
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll see a cut of it, an early cut. Absolutely,
We'll do a little pre-screening.
for sure. Very cool.